In today's video, I'm going to talk about demons and exorcisms and talk about how those kind of teachings can cause a lot of damage to your mental health. My name is Richard Turner. I'm a cult recovery therapist and cult psychology consultant. Now, of course, I don't claim to be an expert in all subjects. Please feel free to critique anything I say. When I talk about demons and exorcism today, it's from my interpretation and understanding and experience. Different religious groups might have different understanding or different language or different ways of seeing things. But what I'm going to do today is talk about a bit of a Christian perspective. And even then, though, different Christian religious groups will have different understanding. But what's key for today is I want to talk about how these things can be really harmful to your mental health and how they can be used to control people and impact your identity. And again, of course, please always critique everything I say. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. And there's always different viewpoints to everything I say. And I always encourage people to do a bit of wider reading and reflection around my videos. So where do we begin? In a number of years ago, I had left a religious cult and a Christian one. And in the process of trying to seek answers and seek help, I ended up spending time with these people who were effectively performing exorcisms and casting out demons from people. Casting out demons from people in a church, a mainstream church, and they were doing this kind of in secret without the mainstream church organisation knowing. And I went to meet with these people and they prayed for me and effectively told a bunch of demons to leave me and made me confess my sins. And I started spending time with them, and the crux of the message that I'd received from them was, I was full of sin. The reason why I'd ended up in the situations I'd ended up in was because I was full of sin, and it was kind of my fault, really. I'd been carrying this sin and I need to repent of it. And this caused me a massive amount of damage. The reason why it did was because the cults control through shame. They make you think it's your fault or you're not good enough. And then I went to this group of people and they say, well, actually, that's right. the shame you're feeling, it was caused by you. It's all the sin in you. And this is kind of how it works. So I started hanging around with these people. And then I read books like Pigs in the Parlour by Frank Hammond, which is just an absolutely toxic book. If you want to read it, by the way, you feel free to go and read it. But maybe buy it secondhand so no one gets any money for it. So I started learning about exorcisms and deliverance, and one of the things that the Christian religions like to do, who are interested in this kind of thing, is repackage it and use different language. So they'll say, "Oh, it's not exorcism, it's deliverance," and they'll debate the small points within the ideology to soften it, to make it not seem what it actually is. But under the surface, we are talking about this thing of demons and spirits can oppress you, and some people argue, are they inside you? Are they in your soul? Are they in your body? And then some people say, oh no, they're not in your body. They just oppress you from the outside. And all these kind of debates go on. But under the surface, there is this idea that there is some evil presence oppressing you in some way. So I was hanging around with these people. I was reading these books, and then there were teachings about, demonic doorways into your house. If you have a certain object, that object can let evil into your house, and then that can impact relationships. So things to do with magic or anything spiritual that wasn't Christian, or idols or good luck charms, anything like that. They were like doorways to let evil into your house. Things that you watch, movies, Harry Potter, anything mystical, magical, anything that also idolatry. So if you really enjoy something or you worship something or you think something's really good, there's a risk of idolatry, so that you then get rid of those objects because it'll stop the evil coming into your house. And so what happened to me over time from reading these books, from hanging around these people who kept talking about demons constantly, is I started getting rid of possessions. I got rid of my I got rid of my Xbox. I got rid of all of my games, lots of my DVDs, lots of my books. But what was happening inside me is I was so full of shame of what happened in the cult. I thought, if I get rid of these things, it'll heal how bad I feel. And so I kept get rid of stuff, hoping that I'd get some inner peace from all these items I got rid of. And I got to a place where I had everything about my identity, you know, I was a big gamer, I was a geek, I loved Harry Potter, I loved Lord of the Rings, I love all that stuff. I got to a place where I had nothing left. I even got rid of my TV. I give my TV away, my Blu-ray player. And I really got to a place where like my bedroom was half empty. In fact, I'll put some photographs up right now, you can see, and there's just nothing there. There's nothing left because I was trying to get rid of this shame, and I was been taught, oh, it's all these demons and evil that's come into your life that's influenced this. So what happened is over time is my identity was being stripped away, and on top of this, the world become a very, very dark, hopeless place. You know, there were discussions about, you know, Satanists running the country, Satanists being in corporate toy companies, Satanists running politics. And over time, I started feeling worse and worse and worse. And then while I was around this group of people, there was teachings about the end times. Oh, we need to prepare. Jesus is coming back. And then I was like, well, what's the point in studying? What's the point in working? What's the point in doing anything anymore? And the world got more and more and more hopeless. So in an effort to recover from the cult I was in, I ended up in another effective, more or less, it was effectively a cult. And even further, my identity was stripped away, and I just didn't know who I was, and I was getting really low. I thought there's just no point. There's just no point in going back to college and all that stuff. So the other consequence of all this behaviour as well is I was told that, you know, people around me have demons in them, and then when I started talking like that, another church I visited, people started avoiding me and thinking that I was weird. So I became more isolated, and I became more isolated from the people around me because of what I was saying, and again, just like the cult experience, the isolation kicks in, you know, and therefore it affects your mind even more. There came a point a bit with it where I kind of realised that there was, I started to notice that actually there was no good coming from any of this, and I didn't know where the line was. Nothing was measurable. It was like, oh, it's a demon. It was, well, there's no evidence for any of this, you know. There's like I've got rid of everything I could get rid of, and nothing's getting any better. And my mental health is getting worse, not better. And not only that, I was taught as well that your body has physical reactions to demons coming out, and I was massively anxious at this time. So I was praying, and I was being sick, but I was being sick because I was so anxious. And unfortunately as well, it did a load of damage to my teeth, which I've now had to have procedures on because the acid from my stomach, I'm pretty sure, damaged my teeth. And that's what the dentist said anyway. So my identity was vanishing because I was getting rid of all my items because I thought it was letting evil spirits into my room. I was physically being harmed from being sick all the time because I was so anxious. But then I was being taught, oh, that sometimes happens if spirits are coming out of you. And I was trying to get spiritually clean, but I was in the process of becoming spiritually clean. I was actually losing everything. Now, this is quite textbook cult-like experience. They promise you something, and usually you get the opposite of what they're promising you. Cults, they often doing the opposite of what they claim to be doing. So anyway, I left all of this, and it really leaves you in a place where you don't know if you can trust what you think, because you don't know if spirits are affecting your mind. You don't know who you are. You feel very lost, and everything is very immeasurable. You don't know, is this causing this? And to what extent is this causing this? And it was a dark time, to be honest with you. And in trying to escape a cult, I just ended up in another one, which caused even more confusion and damage on top of that. Yeah, so generally speaking, I wanted to do a video because I get calls from people who have been entangled in some of this stuff, in like demons, and it's made them mentally quite unwell. But what's causing a lot of confusion for people trying to support them is they think they've had some kind of like psychotic breakdown, but actually what all that's actually happened is they've been taught a load of rubbish. They've been taught a load of unhelpful things, and all they need to do is unlearn it all and get firm on reality again. So I wanted to basically in this video pick some of this apart. So I wanted to talk about, firstly, you've got the issue with objects in your home. Okay, so the thing is about that is, as I've mentioned already, if you start getting rid of all the objects and things you're interested in your house, you'll start losing your identity. I've realised from listening to many clients and thinking about my own experience that your home is often like your safe place. It's where it's built around who you are, and if that becomes unsafe, then where is safe anymore? So when you start thinking, oh, things can get into my home, I better anoint the windows with oil to stop spirits getting attacking my home, and I better remove all these tourist objects I got from my travels with all these happy memories, remove this kind of like, I don't know, what would someone buy? Lucky horseshoe, or remove these collection of DVDs of films that I really love. If you start removing all of that, then and that space becomes unsafe, then your sanctuary almost becomes unsafe. So teachings like this, they actually begin to make there's a potential for them to destabilize who you are and that safe place that you go to. So the problem, one of the problems with these kind of teachers is they're often rooted in the spiritual laws that you're allowed to get attacked by spirits. There are rules that means that spirits and demons can attack you. So if you've got sin in your life or objects in your home that are linked with other religious beliefs, or if you idolize anything, or if there's unforgiveness, all that stuff. This idea that means that is the focus of a lot of the teachings. What it does is make you think you're wrong and defective and bad and evil and unclean, and that seems to be a primary focus in a lot of these kind of groups, where it's all rooted in sin. Now, this is what cults do. They chip away at your self-esteem and make you feel shame, because when someone feels shame and low self-esteem, they work harder to not feel that anymore. But if you isolate them, their only framework for getting away from that is the one that the cult is providing. So the cult leader, if they isolate the person and then give them a bunch of teachings, then make them feel shame, the person will keep turning back to those teachings because they're isolated from everything else. Now, if you think about the demon thing and the exorcism thing, is when you start going around telling everybody that you're interested in this, it isolates you. These kind of teachings, they start isolating you from the outside world, and then you feel low and it's impacting your mental health. And what do? You think, oh, it's demons, I better carry on going, and you get deeper and deeper in. So the teachings isolate you and shame you at the same time. Also, I was thinking about this, like, there's no end to this. How do you know? I mean, how do you know? Say, okay, I have a collection of, I'll give you an example. I have a collection of soft toys around my desk here. I collect these. It's a silly little hobby, and they're very good at absorbing the sound around my computer when I'm recording. And how do save these are causing something to come into my flat? How do I know? Like, I will have days where I feel low, but how do I know me feeling low is associated with the fact that I've got this in my flat, assuming that this fits in with the sinful objects? How do I know? There's a disconnect. People will always have low days. They'll struggle in relationships. They'll feel angry at people, and that is the norm. But where is the link between that and these kind of objects? And you can't measure it, and it's never ending. Any object could become that, and you end up. I've heard of people getting really struggling, really mentally unwell, because they just do not know what is real anymore. There is no way of measuring any of this kind of stuff. Normal life things that happen. When you're around people who are teaching this stuff, there's a tendency to go, oh, it's demons. And then you're like, well, how do you know? Where is the connection? So it really has this impact of making you just not know what is real anymore. We kind of need, as people, I think, like stability, and we need kind of like to know where we stand, and routine and structure. Now, that's obviously not always possible, but we need such an amount that it just makes it easier to cope with life. Now, what if the little bit that we have got is then removed and nothing feels like it's stable anymore? That's a scary place to be in, I think, and that is what these kind of teachings do. They leave you in a place where is the certainty anymore? I can't see, there's invisible beings coming in and out of my house, and I don't know if they're here or not. And I don't know if my thoughts are safe anymore. And, if I anoint my windows with oil 1 minute, what if I forget to do it for a week? How often do I have to do it? Because that's what I was been taught about anointing windows and doors. But where does that stop? Where is the line? And this is what happened to me. I went down this crazy rabbit hole where it was never ending. There was a complete lack of certainty. And on top of that, I'm autistic. I need the stability. So I ended up getting incredibly distressed and confused about what was real or not anymore. Now, additionally, on top of this, wrapped up in some of these teachings is this idea of fasting. Now, going without sleep, going without food, depriving yourself of things weakens you. And while you're in that weakened state, it's easy to absorb even more unhealthy teaching and make you more vulnerable. So there's a potential for someone to be in a situation where they're really struggling with life already. They come to these people who are doing exorcisms and casting out spirits. Then they find out that they're full of spirits, and you don't know how many spirits are in you because there's no way of measuring it. Then they find out that objects in the house can bring spirits into the house. Then they find out that they need to deprive themselves of things to fend off this stuff and to get closer to God. And they're getting weaker all the time. And basically, they come to these people for help, and they are stripped bare. And there are places still in the UK now, centres where you can go for this deliverance ministry. And I hear stories of people having complete breakdowns because of these kind of teachings. Telling someone who's already struggling that there may be a load of demons in them, and getting them on this journey where they're trying to get these demons out is a horrible abuse, and it can leave people in a really, really bad way. And it goes on all the time. It's just that often people, they either don't tell people or they keep it a secret. And these kind of organisations do this. They hide it because they know that people don't want them to do it. Now, in the other video I did the other day, I was talking about narcissism and how that can become mirrored in the teachings of the group, and a narcissistic person will wrap up the control in the ideology, so it's less obvious that they're being controlling. Now, think about these teachings about demons and spirits and things like that. It often gets to the place where a person has to go to a person for deliverance ministry or to be prayed for. Now, okay, that then puts that person in a position of power. The ideology and teachings have given the leader or the prophet or the pastor power, or the deliverance ministry team, that they now have power. Secondly, when people go around telling everybody that they're full of demons and that demons are everywhere, that isolates them. Now, we talked in the other video about cult leaders isolating people. The people who are driving these kind of teachings and writing books about it, are they trying to isolate people so that they can control them? There is a manipulation thing in here where this is all then tied into a Bible or religious book or religious beliefs, and that's very unchallengeable. How can you say this is wrong? Because they will go, oh look, it's in the book, or they will spiritualize everything so that it becomes like this unstoppable force. Also, on top of this, let's think about the identity thing, right? We talked in other videos about this idea that to be a healthy human being, you need lots of roles in your life and hobbies and different social groups and things like that. But some of that stuff isn't useful to a cult leader. It's just not useful to them and their mission. And because they lack empathy, they often don't realize that that's important. So look at the demon teaching and the deliverance teaching now. Then, how do we get rid of some of this stuff? Well, all your hobbies, it's idolatry. You need to get rid of them because you're worshipping them. You're focusing too much time on them. How do we get rid of any other ideas that might be a threat to the leader losing control? Oh, don't read this book. That's demonic. That was written by a Satanist. So you can stop what books they're reading. All these kind of relationships. Those people are full of demons. You don't want to spend too much time with them. They might start leading you astray from God. Stripping away identity, isolating people, but using these teachings of demons and exorcism and spiritual warfare, all to kind of strip back who somebody is. So when you start unpacking teachings about exorcism and demons, it just starts looking like control. What I've learned from a lot of this stuff is, look at the consequences of a belief system. So I often think when I think about, because I've come from an evangelical church, and then I went into I worked for a United Reformed Church, then I went into a Pentecostal cult, effectively. Then I ended up in this situation I'm talking about now with this underground deliverance ministry, which did me a ton of damages on top of the cult one. And I come out of it all now, spent months, years reassessing it. And what I've learned is this: if there's a belief system or ideology, what are the consequences of it? Does it isolate? Does it take away your identity? Does it feel safe and secure? And are you free to have other aspects of your life? When I look at this deliverance teaching and, Derek Prince, Frank Hammond, all I see now is isolation and control, cleverly wrapped up with lots of frightening kind of language, scurvy language. Under the surface, this is a frightening teaching, and as you've probably realised, fear is often used to control people. Anyway, this video I've been thinking about for a while, and there will be lots of people out there who will be angry, probably disagree with some of this, and I'll probably get labelled as some, someone who's been led astray, or a backslider, or whatever terminology you want to use. But the reality is, what is the fruit of this? And the fruit is rotten. In my opinion, it's absolutely rotten. And as I say, I've spoken to people on the phone quite a number of times where these kind of teachings have left people in absolute ruins. So just in closing, as I often say, please feel free to critique anything I've said, disagree, write something in a comment. If you've said something you think, oh, that's not right, please tell me. I don't want to become a cult leader or some kind of weird YouTube influencer guru. I'm just kind of making these videos as a resource for people who ring me up and for my website, and just putting some thoughts and reflections out there. Always happy for feedback and criticism. Anyway, guys, take care of yourselves, and thank you so much for watching the video and supporting my little channel. Bye bye.